Do you like modern fabric but feel just a little bit intimidated on how to use it?
Let's make that easy for you.
Hi, it's Donna Robertson.
And Fran Morgan with Fabric Café.
When I think of modern quilts, I think of bright, bold colors with lots of contrast.
We remade all of the quilts from our book, Make It Easy with 3-Yard Quilts, in modern fabrics.
And they turned out so fun. Let's check out the first quilt. Affinity pattern is a great pattern. It's 42 by 60. And it has this wonderful big rectangular shaped block here, and it's super for directional fabric. We have some great diagonal crisscrossing blocks that add a lot of movement. So you can see how the crisscrosses are going here, and it just adds so much movement. Plus, we put just a little bit of a peekaboo right here in the center of this block to add a little fun. Now the border that we put around the outside edge of this is using the number 3 fabric, and it really frames it all out. And then we put the splash of that number 1 on the outside border, and let's put it on the table and get a closer look at all these beautiful modern fabrics. We used a 2-way directional print, which works perfectly in the rectangular portion of the quilt.
I actually think it kind of makes the rectangle look longer because it's that direction.
Yeah, it does. So it really does heighten that pattern that we have going on in this quilt. And you know, this fabric looks a little bit like paint.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like kind of
how they do that little, where they put it on the surface and they drag a pin through it or something, and it gives it that. Oh, I love
Remember
that.
when I went through my paint period? I was painting everything. Really, I was not painting, I was just playing with paints. But anyway, we decided to go very monochromatic with this particular quilt kit. So our number 1 is this great directional fabric. Our number 2, we picked a little brighter color, so we wanted it monochromatic, but we also wanted to add a little more light because the other 2 colors are a little darker. And so we've got this great, and it kind of looks like paint too, doesn't it?
It kind of does, kind of like it's just moving all on the surface.
These fabrics are very, fluid. You can just see that movement in the fabric as well as the design. So this is our number 2 fabric. It's going to go everywhere you see here, creating the perfect background that causes the other colors to come forward. And then, instead of going black, which we could have done because there's a lot of black in that number 1 fabric, we went with a dark blue. So it kept it monochromatic. And it also just helps you to see that little peekaboo of fabric there, but still keeping it in that family of the blues.
I love it.
And
it's dark enough that it really creates that diagonal line both directions, which I like.
Yes, absolutely. So this particular kit is called Midnight Chandelier, and it's the Affinity pattern from our book, Make It Easy with 3-Yard Quilts.
Now this is Diversion, and it is such a fun quilt to make. It measures at a very generous 41 inches by 59 inches. Now, fun to make because we're using 3 different blocks. I don't know about you, but whenever I'm putting a quilt together and I have 3 different blocks like this, you get one set of them done and you're like, oh, I'm making progress, and it's really great. So our 3 blocks. First, we have a solid square here. Now you know that's going to go together so quick because you're just cutting squares. The next one is a 4-patch that is bordered on all 4 sides. And this is going to go together in no time at all. And it kind of makes the 4-patch look like it's floating because we've used our number 2 fabric on the border. Our 3rd block is just a bordered block here. We have just a little bit of our number 2 in the middle and then a nice wide border around it. And you know, these go so super fast. So you're gonna be done before you know it. Let's get it on the table. Check out this gorgeous fabric. So for our number 1, we picked kind of this turquoise blue and purple. It's kind of like a subtle ombre because it goes from purple to blue to purple to blue again. And it has a very subtle geometric background, which is neat for a modern quilt because it gives you that little bit more structure that's going on. It's just gorgeous. So our focused fabric here in this is in our big block. Now notice that this is also kind of like a 2-way directional, like a stripe is, and it works in this pattern. Actually, 2 of our fabrics work as a 2-way directional in this pattern, which is
I like
great.
that.
absolutely fabulous. Our fabric number 2 is a crisp white. Now, I love a crisp white for a modern quilt.
Yes. And what's really cool about this is that even though we have this nice crisp white, there is a little very faded back, kind of a, I don't know how they do that. How do you get a crisp white and you got white on white, but you can still see a little bit going on in it?
It's kind of magical, isn't it? But it has that very subtle movement to it. So when you get close, you can really see the subtle movement in all of these white areas. But it's white
crisp.
and really helps those colors be vibrant, which I love. And then for our number 3, we have another one of those patterns that's kind of like an ombre. It's actually the same print as our number 1 fabric, but in a different colorway. And it's got the bright greens going into just a little bit of navy. Oh, so good. It is so good.
You know what's really cool about it? Because, you know, sometimes with modern quilts, we see just solid colors. But this particular quilt with that two-way directional really adds even more movement to it. So it adds a little more interest to that otherwise kind of a flat look.
Yes,
I
totally agree. And the colorway of the green with the turquoise and the purple is one of my absolutely favorite combinations of colors.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing.
It's really good. And you can see our green here is in our 4-patch as well as on our bordered block. And you can see how that fabric is placed in there and it turns and it works perfectly. So it's really, really good. Okay, now for a little extra inspiration, because I know I'm already inspired, but just for a little extra inspiration, I want to share what we chose for the backing. And this is a beautiful fabric. Of course, we like to use just standard 45-inch wide fabric for our backing. And this is like a purple and turquoise kind of a mottled look that blends so beautifully with our front.
I tell you, look at that number 1 fabric up against it. It is gorgeous.
Now, I don't know about you, but whenever I have quilts in my house, they kind of get just thrown on the couch, you know. Very seldom do you stop and say, okay, let me fold it up neatly, and, you know, they're just kind of tossed. And so you see those backs. So when you get that little peekaboo of the back, it's kind of nice whenever it coordinates so well.
Love it.
Really love it. All right, let's get you the kit information on this. It is called Caravan Lights. It is our diversion pattern.
Now the next quilt pattern we're working with is Elemental. And this quilt is 42 by 60, which is a really nice size that you can get out of 3 1-yard cuts of fabric. It has a great interlocking effect across the quilt that almost looks like you've got a chain going across the row. I like that. And we have this fun asymmetrical border as well. What we did is we used our focus fabric on half of that outside border, and then on the other side we used the number 3 fabric, and that creates this great angle for you to look at and just adds a little more interest to this quilt. Now these blocks are super easy to make, and we're going to put it on the table and show you how to do that. I think it'll be fun to crop out this one.
Yes, let's do.
Because we have 2 blocks, both of them are super simple, but the number 1 block, let's do that one first, and I'll show you the whole block right here, and then right here. This is going to be our whole block right there. It's similar to a rail fence. Now normally with a rail fence you'll just have strips of fabric that you sew together and then cut your block, but we're going to piece the center of our rail fence looking block.
Right.
So what I did was I had 3 strips of fabric that we sewed together, and we cut this unit off, and then we sewed 2 strips of fabric together right here and cut this. Then we put 1 on each side of that center one. So voila, you've got that.
So it's very interesting because this is strip pieced and turned sideways.
Yes.
And then these are strip pieced and just sewn on each side of it. So that's going to make it really fast.
And one of the reasons I like that block so much is it uses all 3 fabrics in one block.
I like that too.
I just think it adds so much interest. Now the number 2 block, it's super simple too. We're just going to do our traditional, what we call strip piecing here, where we sew 3 strips of fabrics together. We cut a unit, and then we put a border on each side, there and here And voila, you've got a really super easy bordered block.
So fast, so fast.
Yes, and we've got gorgeous, gorgeous fabric.
Yes.
Now we went a little softer on this. It's sort of a watercolor look to this particular one. It still has that modern element because you can really see that number 3 popping, the purple. So you've got all that modern graphic look to it.
It kind of seems organic modern in a way, even though I don't know that it is, but it kind of has, I think it's the coloring of it. It looks it has that little bit of organic feel to it.
Yeah, a lot of those really pretty earthy,
Yes.
or earthy greens and blues.
So pretty.
Yeah, I like that. So the number 1 fabric, it's going to be in every block. So it's going to be the center of this block, and then it's going to be these 2 strips that you see right over here in this one. And that is such a beautiful fabric.
It is.
Has every imaginable color.
Oh, it does. You could put pretty much any number 3. I mean, you could put a pink, a purple, a green, a blue.
Right. And it does have that real watercolory look that, especially when you put it with this one that has this painting texture. And you know, I mentioned earlier about going through my painting period. I played with paints for about a year. And I love doing all the different techniques. And there's that splattery kind of a look to this fabric.
Where you got a toothbrush and went,
yeah, that's exactly right. And you never know until you start painting and you get all these books and they have all these different ways to put paint on a canvas. That's really interesting. This is going to be in this block. We're going to have the center and here, and then we also have this great border over here. So it really does kind of frame in the quilt. The number 3 fabric is this. We went a little more subtle and a little more grounding because we had so much going on in the 1 and the 2. So this number 3, this is a beautiful kind of a mottled purple and a little bit of kind of pink or lilac color.
very subtly, yeah.
Yeah, very, very subtle. And it just goes so well picking up those purples from our 1 and our 2.
And what's interesting is in this case, the number 3 fabric gives our eye the place to rest. And that is where your eye gravitates. And I especially like it the way the blocks come together here. So this purple on the center section here kind of connects with this. So it gives you that chain effect.
Yes. And you know, that is such a good point what you said about resting, because normally our number 2 is the resting spot where your eye goes. You don't even know you're doing it, but your eye moves around and it will hesitate on some place that's calm after you've looked at all that other stuff, which just makes it more interesting and creates the movement.
Definitely.
So that was a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, the kit is called Painter's Joy, and it's the Elemental pattern.
Now this is our Frolic quilt, and it is 42 inches by 60 inches. Now you can use a directional fabric in your number 1 position, which is this right here. I love that we can use directional and a really bold print because it's a bordered block that is separated with our number 3. So it's going to give this really bold fabric a nice frame. Now in our alternate block, we have this neat diagonal movement here with our number 3 and our number 2 fabric. And when all of these come together and you're alternating these blocks, it almost looks like this is all one piece. And then our bold, bright fabric is shining through, which I think is really cool. So let's get it on the table and talk a little bit more about this quilt. I am so excited about the fabric that we chose for Frolic because it is bold and bright and just makes my heart sing.
Be still, my heart. Beautiful colors coming up.
But it's just so many colors, and it's yellows and oranges and pinks and purples and greens, and it's everything, blues and grays, and it's everything. And I think it's just so strong and creates this amazing element on the quilt. It is our focus fabric. As you can see, it goes in the center of every other block as well as on the border. And I think it's perfect on the border too.
It is gorgeous.
It really brings it all together. And you know, you look at it and it's almost like, you know, the geode rocks when they cut them in half sometimes and you can look inside of the rock. It kind of makes me think of that. Like all those gorgeous colors on the inside, like a geode. It's so pretty.
And it makes, with the other 2 colors that are going with the black and the white, it makes it look like a display at a modern art museum.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah, it's
absolutely,
gorgeous.
Absolutely. Now, because our focus fabric is so bright and bold and gorgeous, We did not want to take any of the attention away from it.
Right.
Right? So we have paired it with a more simple fabric 2 and 3. Our fabric 2 has some texture, and I would say that it's kind of a beigey gray with a light and a dark, and it does have some subtle texture to it. And as you can see, it goes to our background here on all of our alternate blocks here, so that that recedes, and that's its purpose, to kind of fall to the background. And then for our number 3, we used a really nice black that also has some texture to it. And we have used it to border our blocks and to make this line here in our alternate block. This just helps your eye continue and travel. And these two, the black, the white, makes the colors just vibrate, which I love.
I love that
I love it. So absolutely gorgeous. This kit is called Cosmic Geode, and it is our Frolic pattern.
Next up is Levity, and this quilt measures 43 by 61, such a nice size. And this quilt is a 1-block quilt. You just rotate your blocks and you'll get this great movement just by rotating the blocks. And I, for one, love it whenever you've made a quilt and people go, how did you do that? Because it does create such an optical illusion. It just makes it look like all of these blocks are floating and that there's 3 layers to the quilt. The block is super easy to make, and I'm going to show you. So let's get it to the table. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to block this out just like this. And as you can see, it starts off with a rectangle in the middle. And then we're going to do a unit by strip piecing 2 colors.
Easy.
Easy peasy.
Yep.
You sew it on one side, you cut that unit, you sew it on one side of that rectangle, you turn it around, you flip it over, and you do the other side, and voila. Is that not about the simplest thing you've ever seen?
It really is, and it creates so much movement and dynamics on the surface of the quilt. It's surprising that a block like this can do that.
And it's all about just twisting and turning those blocks. Yeah. Get your exercise at the same time. Okay,
Very fun.
Let's look at this great, great fabric. I love it. We went with some more fun geometrics and blues and purples, and the purples almost go to a lilac-y, pinky red in the background. It's just so cool.
You know, to me, that looks like cut gemstones. And like the light is shining on them, and you can kind of see their transparency a little bit because of the way it's colored. It's really pretty.
It is, and it almost looks backlit because it's like those reds are really kind of shining through.
So pretty.
Very pretty. It's our number 1. It's going to be that one that looks like it's on the top layer of multi-layers.
Yes.
And that is one of the things that's really important about picking out fabric for this particular quilt. You want high contrast, and you want a focal fabric on the surface with those solid colors in the background, because that will cause it to have that layered look.
Yes.
And then our number 2, as we always say, it's going to be that little secret sauce that goes in the background of your quilt so that you can see all the other activity going on.
Yes.
So this is a nice lilac color, and it has a little bit of that splattery look to it as well. And that's going to go everywhere you see in the quilt here. It's going to be in that background. And then our number 3 is going to be that grounding. And if you think of that, it looks like it is just another layer of that movement on that quilt.
Yeah, because it's really cool because it looks like there's almost another square behind this rectangle, which is kind of neat. And then this is on top of this. But then they also make these little twisty-turny little pinwheel-looking things, windmill things.
So you get a lot of movement out of that very, very, very simple block. I really like that.
Love the purple.
So as you can see, this front is absolutely awesome, but look what we did on the back. We have some more fun geometrics on the back of this quilt. I love it.
Yes.
It really does kind of pick up the same kind of feel and look of the surface, which I always like to do whenever I'm picking out a backing.
Oh,
for a
absolutely.
quilt. Yeah, so that is really a fun backing on this one. Now the kit information on this one is purple Prism, and it's the Levity pattern.
Now this is Panache, and this quilt measures 42 by 60 inches, which is a great size. Now this is such a cool quilt. It's very simple to do, but it really gives you an optical illusion, like the fabrics are kind of weaving in and out of each other, which I think is really cool. This quilt is made with 2 different blocks. We start with a very simple bordered block, and we have fabric number 2 right in the middle here. And then we've alternated it with our focus fabric, and this is a little corner block here that is just done with strip piecing and a strip that we put on the side. So that's going to go super, super fast. Now, what's really great about this is both fabrics number 1 and 2 can be directional, and I love how they're bordered here with the number 3, so they could even be a little bit different. It acts as a double focus, which we all love. Let's get it on the table. So for our Panache pattern, we picked some really fun batik fabric. And this I love because I have this thing with like circles and squares.
Yeah, and dots.
And well, I have a thing for fabric. Maybe that's what I should say. But this, I love this. It's a batik. And for our focus fabric, we have this batik that has a black background and has all these different color dots. It almost ombres in the dots, but not in the fabric. So they kind of go from pink to yellow to green to blue. And so you're looking at it and it gets all of the colors in the dots. And it's all on that dark background so that they really shine so pretty. Then for our number 2, we chose the exact same fabric but with a white background.
So cool.
It's so cool because then we can put that in our alternate block, which I really, really love. This pattern acts like a double focus.
Very easily.
And it works so well. And part of the reason why it works so well as a double focus quilt is because of the number 3 fabric and where it's placed. So we have this gorgeous blue, this royal rich blue with all the texture that comes in a batik, which we love. And it is bordering this block. We have our little squares on this block, so it just connects them, but it separates these 2 fabrics so you can really use those 2 different focus. It looks amazing.
It does. I really like that. And you know, that blue in there just really does contrast with these other ones. And I like the movement of the different size blocks that are showing forth with the double focus.
I love that. It's great. I want to mention to you guys, if you don't know this already, if you buy 3 kits, any 3 kits, you can get a book for free. So you can get this Make It Easy with 3-Yard Quilts book absolutely free when you purchase 3 kits.
With 8 patterns.
8 patterns.
3 different sizes for every one
That's
of those 8
absolutely right.
patterns.
And lots of inspiration. It's amazing. So if you're falling in love with all of these gorgeous fabrics like me, then this is a great, great option. All right, let me get you the kit information on this because this may be one of the ones that you're falling in love with too. It is called Confetti Echo, and once again, it is the Panache pattern.
Now up next is Skyline, and this quilt measures 40 by 58. The geometric design has a very modern style, and the fun thing about this one was I was inspired by a big city skyline. I was out of town, I walked into my dark hotel room, and the curtains were open, and the buildings across the street had spotty little squares with lots of darkness around them. And I thought, that would make a great quilt. So it would be so fun if you used your scraps in the different little places that you see on the quilt. You could just fill those little windows up with different scraps, and each block would have its own combination. Now let's put it on the table and we'll take a closer look at this great modern fabric. We have some great textured fabric. The black and white is our number 1. It's going to be one that really does pop off of the surface of the quilt. You really do look at it. It's our focus fabric. And then our number 2, we wanted something that didn't compete overly much because that black and white is very graphic. What did you call them? Pickup sticks.
They look like pickup sticks. Or if you're like me, they're probably all the straight pins you dropped on the floor when you were sewing.
Yeah, it does look a little like that too. We love to make up stories with our fabrics. So it's either pickup sticks or if you're like straight pins, one or the other. That's our number 2 fabric. So it does give you that little interest that would go on in that number 2 fabric. We really have a graphic in each one of the 3 prints, but they're also different sizes, from the bold black and white to the tiny one of the little number 2, and then the swoosh, 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 swoosh with the number 3. So this one has some great texture to that. And it kind of mimics the swishy look of the number one fabric as well.
It really adds a lot of movement, I think.
But it's great in the center of this block as the block itself there with that little black and white in the background. And you can see how the movement just moves across this quilt with the way those blocks are placed.
Yes, I love it. And you know, it's like classic modern, red, white, and black.
Oh,
and it has that high contrast, which is just so great.
Very, very nice. And this kit is called Mod Motion, and it's the Skyline pattern.
Now this is our Tenderness quilt, and it measures 41 by 59. This is a really fun quilt. I especially like that you can use a double focus in the two blocks here. And this is a nice bordered block so that you can really have something fun in this area here. And it's separated with our number 2, which gives it some space, which makes it the perfect double focus quilt. Now in our other block, we have a stylized heart here. I love how these are positioned in the quilt because it kind of gives us that diagonal movement, which I think is always a lot of fun in a quilt, so your eye travels around the quilt. Let's get it on the table, check out this really fun fabric. So for our Tenderness pattern, we picked a really bold focus fabric, and it's great because we have this kind of stylized flower that's got so many different colors in it. I mean, pinks and blues and greens, and I mean, it's everything.
It also has so many different little elements to it, like diamonds and polka dots.
Yes.
And little, what are those, like stamen in a flower? They're really cool.
It's really gorgeous. I mean, you could pick companion fabrics from so many different colors because there's so many in here. So this is our focus, and as you can see, it's in our block here as well as a little on the border. And I love a big print in a block like this too, because as you can see here, you get the center of this flower and this flower that has so much interest, but then you can move over here and you get a different part of the fabric. And I think it just almost makes it look like you've used two different fabrics because this has some of the leaf parts on it. And then here we have the center of another flower and a leaf and a flower. I just think it's really interesting.
You won't get bored looking at this one.
Not even
Cover
a
up
little
and
bit.
just study the quilt.
That's right. So that's gorgeous. And then for our number 2, we picked this nice kind of soft white with a little bit of texture on it. And we wanted to go really simple with our number 2 because our focus fabric is so bold that we wanted to kind of give that background there to help this really pop. As you can see, it is in each of our blocks, a border here and a little bit here. Then we chose to use pink for our number 3. Now you could use any of these fabrics from the focus as your number 3 because there's so many, but we leaned into the heart and we went pink, and I really like this. This pink has just a little bit of graphic design to it, a little hexagon, and the pink picks up the pink in our focus. And I think the hexagon kind of picks up some of the pattern in our focus as well, which is really kind of fun. It's kind of that subtle nod to the focus. It has its moment, but it keeps the focus the star, which I really love.
Well, you can really see more pink in that focus fabric because of those hearts. It really does kind of draw them together.
Yes. And really, you could have used blue or green or purple or any of the colors that are in the focus fabric, which is really cool. All right, let me get you the kit information on this. It is called Floral Drama, and it is our Tenderness pattern.
It's amazing how different these patterns look in all modern fabrics.
It just shows you that you can make any pattern in your style. It all depends on what fabric you use.
Are there any books you'd like us to remake in different fabric styles? Let us know in the comments.
And if you would like to learn more about how some of these blocks are made, then be sure to watch the video that pops up. Happy quilting!